Hi, my name is Freddie Kepingang, and if you're watching this video, you're probably wanting to know the exact best system to scale an online coaching business to 10 to 50k a month in take-home profit without any complex funnels or hiring a huge team or trying to convince skeptical people to buy a program that they don't even believe in, right? So if you watch my videos before on YouTube, you already know why my phone is here. It's because I'm a genuine yapper when it comes to marketing and sales. So if I don't have my phone here with my notes, I'm probably going to yap 10 times longer than this video should be, and it's probably already going to be a long video. So if you're watching this video, you probably are starting to notice something that no one wants to admit right now. There's a severe lack of trust in the online coaching space, right? Every buyer is skeptical now. Everyone seems to have been burned by another coach or someone that scammed them, right? They've seen the DM sequences, they've seen the webinars, they've seen the only 3 spots left for coaching this month, like that kind of BS, right? So when you show up, even with real results, even with real advice to give, they just treat you as another one of them, right? Almost like they've been trained to say, I'm not interested before you even have a real conversation with them, right? And that's why I built something completely different, something that I like to call a trust-based digital ecosystem. And it's an ecosystem that allows online coaches to scale to 10 to 50k a month with their online coaching business and take home profit with a business that doesn't need a huge team and is extremely simple. Because I've personally experienced firsthand what it looks like to try and scale an online coaching business without a trust-first, market-first approach. In fact, about 4 to 5 years ago, nearing the end of 2021, I was actually working as a freelance content manager. I was essentially helping online coaches grow their brands through short-form TikTok content, and I actually got great results for people I worked with. I can probably put some of the results that I got on the screen. But by mid-2022, the content space, like, it literally exploded. Okay, and standing out as a content creator just became so much harder than it was before. Algorithms changed. They weren't pushing out content as much as they used to, that kind of thing, right? So I essentially doubled down, and I realized that content isn't going to be, only being good at content isn't going to be good enough going forward. So I doubled down on learning and investing into my skill set. So I spent the next 2 years after that just learning the full stack when it comes to selling high ticket online. So I learned appointment setting, sales, backend automations. I literally became obsessed of learning about the entire backend operation of online content creator businesses and building really, really long lasting personal brands. And on top of that, that was on top of all the, existing content skills that I had before, right? And with those skills, I fortunately had the opportunity to work with some fairly large coaching businesses in the process, right?
Hey guys, so I've been working with Freddie for the past 6 months. It's been a very great experience at this moment of time. He's very efficient, showing up every single day, booking in the calls, listening to new methods that we are utilizing, and making sure the business is running smooth. Always very polite, always showing up on task aspects and hitting targets. It's a very, very powerful alignment. Really happy we've got Freddie on the team. All is going very, very well. Working hard daily, moving the business forward, that's the main thing, and things are amazing there.
But what I actually saw behind the scenes was genuinely not what I thought would be at all. It was literally chaos. I've personally watched multi-6 and even multi-7-figure coaching businesses crumble before my eyes, right? And this was not obviously overnight, it was gradual. Booked out 1 month, crickets the next month, that kind of thing, right? Stripe account is full, clients are coming in 1 month, Stripe account is way less the next month, barely any clients coming in, that kind of thing, right? I've seen it with my own eyes. And, even though I wasn't the founder, even though I wasn't the one calling the shots, right? I still felt intimidated and really, really scared about the path that the online coaching space, or at least the path of the online coaching space as I knew it, was going down, right? But now I understand why it seems so unstable. And the system that I'm about to walk you through in this video is what I wish every single one of those offers implemented before they started falling apart, right? And this is a system that is built for a current market, right? For skeptical buyers and for business owners who have already made real money with their main business or their main career, but want a coaching business that is highly profitable and extremely simple. Take Anya, for example. She is a clinical movement coach, helping people get rid of back pain mainly, but other types of joint pain and body pain as well, who I took from making $600 a month selling low ticket digital products. And I think the most she'd ever made in a single month with that strategy was $2,000. I took her from making that amount of money every month to generating $27,000 in revenue for her coaching business in 1 month after launching, with no sort of sales experience. She had, in fact, never been on a sales call in her life to that point. No ads, and also closing at a 38% close rate on qualified leads. And again, this was only 1 month after launching her high ticket coaching offer. Or Matthew, for example, right, who had no sort of coaching offer, no sort of high ticket sales experience, and only 2,600 followers, who I helped turn $700 in ad spend into $23,000 in 1 month, closing at 75% on his sales calls. Or Brittany, a photography business coach who I helped close her first client worth $3,000 in just 1 week of implementing systems that nurtured and converted the leads that were already in her pipeline. So no sort of complex funnels, just a trust-based sequence.
I just want to say that when Freddie reached out to me, actually, I was quite mean because I don't usually reply to these messages because I have a big following on Instagram and I get messages like his literally every single day. So what I told him was to literally change his marketing strategy because it's really annoying. However, Freddie didn't give up, thank God. And yeah, that was the first day we started talking and discussing my business, how we can scale it, how we can improve profits and everything. Freddie literally showed me everything step by step in so much details that I literally told him, like, I don't need to know everything. I'm sold. Freddie is super friendly. First of all, he knows what he's doing. The communication is great as well, so I literally have nothing negative to say about him. What he's doing, he's done so much behind the scenes. I literally just focus on content creation and helping my clients, so actually doing my job, and I don't have to think or worry about anything that happens in between because he thinks faster than me, if that makes sense. So I don't have to look for any loopholes or things that we should focus on, things to improve. He rather comes to me and tells me what we have to do, what we have to change, what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right. So it's honestly so impressive because I can only imagine how much time it takes and willingness to improve.
I've been working with Freddie for about 4 or 5 months now. Okay, listen, I am a business operator. I am very good at what I do, but what I am not good at is all of this digital marketing, sales, funnels, and that's where Freddie came in. He took my expertise, okay? He helped me craft my offer, and then he handled the whole sales and funnel process, okay? We have recently just proven our concept after he helped dial in on my whole offer, put what's in here into paper, and then create a sales process. And this is actually insane. We spent $700 on ads last month, and I believe we generated $23,000 or $25,000. Okay, this is insane. We proved our concept. It's proven. Now we're ready to pour some gas on the fire, increase that ad spend, and the sky is the absolute limit. If you're very good at what you do, I recommend working with Freddie to handle all the back end stuff, setting the appointments, sales, all that stuff, so you can continue doing what you love to do. You can coach people and help them change their lives, and then Freddie will help you make all the money on the back end.
My experience working with Freddie has been amazing. I have a business that I run full-time that's very successful, but I've been wanting to get into the coaching and teaching space, but just didn't have the proper resources to fully execute a game plan for that. And with Freddie's help, he's been able to work the followers and the email lists and the people that I already have interacting with my content and help us pull 3 calls right away. Our first week really trying, and of those 3 calls, one of them actually closed thanks to a lot of the things that Freddie taught me. I've never been on a sales call before where I've had to be the one actually selling something. So to go from never actually doing sales to actually completing a sale, it was really rewarding, and I'm hoping that a second person from those first 3 is going to sign as well.
So if you're wondering what I know or what my clients know that you might not know that is stopping you from getting the results that you want out of your coaching business, that's exactly what I'm about to go through in this video, right? So there's no fluff, no gimmicks. I'm literally going to walk you through step by step exactly how to scale to 10 to 50K a month in take-home profit without needing a bigger team, without needing a new funnel, without needing a bigger audience, or without needing all these complex systems that just don't work. Now, let me make something extremely clear. This video and this system, it's not for everyone, okay? And this will actually break you if you don't have the right expectations, right? So if you're not willing to film content consistently or refine your message repeatedly to achieve true understanding of your ideal customer, this system will break you. If you expect to just hand off sales before validating your offer because you're bad at sales, this system will break for you. If you want people to pay $3,000 to $10,000 or more for your coaching packages, but you hesitate at the thought of investing even $3,000 into your own knowledge, self-education, and systems or marketing, this system will break for you too. And the biggest one that I find usually is if you're the kind of person who expects the growth of your coaching business to feel smooth 24/7, even if you have external help, your coaching business will crumble beneath your feet. And this actually speaks volumes to what online coaching actually is, because it's not about giving people a bunch of information and a few coaching calls. It's actually an identity transformation, right? So if you're not willing to shift your own identity first, how can you ever expect to do the same for your clients? Because your coaching, it doesn't start when someone pays you. It starts from the top down, from how you show up in your calls and even how you show up in your content. So if you're not willing, or if you are willing to have the identity that you need to grow your coaching business the right way, the goals that you have for your business are well within your reach, okay? So we always start with market foundation. So before you create any content, before you craft a sales funnel, and especially before you run any sort of ads, you must do market research, right? Now, if your audience doesn't feel seen, they'll never hear you, right? When it comes to your coaching business, I think, of market research as one of those famous quotes from Abraham Lincoln, which says, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 sharpening my axe, right? And this is it really speaks volumes to what market research is, because when it comes to building a coaching business, you want to build it right, okay? And this is the right way to do so. So you must understand, their belief system, all right? It's not good enough to just, think about basic things, because you cannot, right? And I mean, you cannot scale any sort of high trust, high ticket offer if you don't know exactly who you're speaking to. Like I said, no base level things like their age or niche. You need to understand their entire belief system, their internal contradictions, right? The conflicting beliefs that keep them stuck in their old patterns, preventing them from moving forward, right? The invisible reasons why they keep watching your stories and never buy, right? The unspoken fears or doubts that are holding them back, because your ideal client, they will never buy something high ticket if you don't understand their situation better than they do. Now, the first step in market research is building your ICP hypothesis, right? A hypothesis is basically giving you an understanding of a few key traits, right? So the first thing is payment capability. What type of person is most likely to be able to pay high ticket, right? Who is basically able to pay the most? Also, active seeking, okay? Also, you want to understand out of your ICP or who you want to work with, who is able to pay the most, whilst also actively seeking for a solution. They need to be a person who's actively looking for the exact end goal that you offer and is willing to invest into getting that goal, you want them to be a person who is most likely to get the best results possible. Value alignment, you want them to be a person that matches your values, right? If that is important to you, this can include stuff like religion or marital status, whatever it is, and then working relationship, right? They need to be the type of person that you will enjoy working with the most. And you need to then take this hypothesis, and then from here you need to use IG story polls, DMs, DM conversations, and sales call recordings if you have those with your ideal client profile hypothesis. If you don't, then that's totally fine. You can use stuff like ChatGPT to answer the questions for you that you need answers to for that specific ICP. It's not something I typically do, but it still does work, so I thought I'd just add that in. And, you want to understand, right? The people that fit this hypothesis, you want to now create a document that gives you a deep understanding and breakdown of your ideal client, okay? So, the complete ICP breakdown. To truly understand your ideal client profile or your ICP, you need to have a deep dive into these areas that I'm about to go over right now, right? So the first one is identity and description. Who they are, basically a full physical and psychological profile, what their hobbies are or what they do for work, if it's actually relevant to your offer. If it's not relevant, then don't really worry about that. Beliefs and struggles, what are the most common beliefs that are keeping them stuck? What are their current challenges and obstacles that they're facing? What are their deepest desires and ultimate goals with their business or whatever goal they're trying to achieve? Timeline and roadblocks. When would they like to achieve their goals, right? What's currently preventing them from reaching their objective or their goals? And what are the past solutions that they've tried that have failed or that they just dislike? Investment barriers. What has previously stopped them from investing in coaching programs? You want to understand their program expectations. You want to understand what they truly want out of a coaching program, right? And you want to frame it as something that addresses their needs without all the common roadblocks or ineffective mechanisms that they've tried before. You also want to understand the fear and emotional-based objections and limiting beliefs that are commonly, brought about when considering online coaching, right? Stuff like on sales calls, stuff like, it's too expensive, stuff like, speak to partner, stuff like all that stuff around like uncertainty and fear, right? Logic-based questions as well. You want to understand that. So if someone is interested in joining your program, you want to understand what are the logical questions that they'll ask to get more clarity before they jump forward, right? Then you want to have a section about your personal story as well, a complete personal backstory from beginning to your current situation and related directly to your ideal client's journey or what journey you would take them through, okay? So the next part, once you've created this full document, your ICP sheet, you are now able to create your offer. Now, when you hear the word offer, I feel like it's really tossed around in the whole online coaching space and really misinterpreted by a lot of people. So I just want to set an expectation, right? An offer is not one-to-one coaching or group coaching. That is the mechanism that you use to get the result, right? I wouldn't even say it's the mechanism. I would say it's just the actual product, right? Your offer is basically the end goal or identity that your ideal client wants, and it should avoid the things that your ICP doesn't like, right? And basically make it impossible for them not to want to take part in that offer. Now, if you know who Alex Hormozi is, you've probably heard of his famous $100 million offers formula, right? Which is dream outcome times perceived likelihood of achievement, and then divided by time delay times by effort and sacrifice. Okay, so the whole idea is to obviously maximize the parts at the top, right? Maximize the dream outcome and perceived likelihood of achievement. Maximize these two things, whilst minimizing the time delay and effort and sacrifice. Okay, so in terms of insight on how to do that, in terms of maximizing the dream outcome, you want to understand basically what is the thing that they want most, and that should be something you should understand in the market research. What is the highest perceived likelihood of achievement? How can we make it 100% in the prospect's minds? Time to success. How can we compress the time to get the result as much as possible whilst keeping it realistic? You obviously can't tell people, oh, I'll get you to 10K a month in like 2 days. Like, obviously that's not going to be possible. So you want to make it realistic, but also compress it as much as possible. And then effort and sacrifice. How can you avoid everything that your ICP dislikes? What kind of risk reversals can you have in place? This can be like guarantees or any sort of like risk reversals. Or you can just completely avoid all the stuff that your ICP just doesn't like, right? So your unique mechanism, right? After you've created the offer and you completely have tailored it to your ICP, you need now a new way to articulate exactly how people are going to get the end result that you offer in your promises, right? And this is what you would call a unique mechanism. Now, as a business owner, you probably understand that even in the most crowded markets, the people that outshine the competition are the ones that stand out, and that's what a unique mechanism is for. So the old way, right? Your unique mechanism should make it extremely clear that the reason why people haven't achieved their desired result is due to traditional or conventional beliefs, mindsets, and mechanisms that have been presented as a standard in your industry, right? For example, for one of my other clients, Matthew, who's an Airbnb coach, he works the way he does things, or his unique mechanism is instead of people having to like save up for years for like a down payment or having to get into heaps of debt to get into real estate, which is the more conventional, more traditional ways that people get into real estate or what they think is needed to get into real estate. Instead, he comes in. I'm about to explain it here. He comes in and he says, "Hold on a minute, like you don't need to do this old way. There's actually a new way, a superior approach that offers all the benefits that they seek with significantly fewer drawbacks compared to the old methods." So the way that relates to Matthew's offer is he comes in and he says, hold on a minute, you don't actually have to save up for years to get into real estate. You can actually utilize business credit, 0% interest business credit cards, and utilizing lease agreements instead of down payments to scale to multiple units that generate income passively, so you can use that passive income to fund your long-term projects, right? That's something he actually, uses instead of the old way. And when you come in with that kind of unique mechanism, you basically create your own niche. You create your own, that's how you become that person. You become the person that people go to if they want to get into real estate, but they don't want to have to save up for years, or they don't want to have to, get into a lot of debt to start the business. The next part, right? Now you have done all the, market research, ICP sheet, all that stuff, crafting the offer, right? The final part of this setup, or the initial setup of the trust-based digital ecosystem, is what I like to call crafting trust-based sales assets. And these are essentially long-form videos that you post on YouTube to build more trust, connection, and social proof with your audience well before you ever speak to them in sales conversations. So let me just list off all the exact trust-based sales assets that you'll need to make, okay? So the first one is a unique mechanism explainer video. So this is essentially a VSL that speaks directly to your ICP. And the whole idea is to explain why the conventional way that has been taught to your ideal client is wrong and why it is wrong, right? While inserting your unique mechanism as the new, better solution to their problems, right? With this, it's very important to make sure that you explain who your unique mechanism is for, and more importantly, who it is not for. And finally, you can use this as a way to face common objections head on, while also sharing social proof in the form of testimonials, case studies, whatever it is. So this is what would be like a unlisted video that you post on your YouTube. So it's not published publicly. It's like a private video, but also you can share to other people through a link, right? Basically, you can only share it to people that have the link. And it's a video that you share before sales calls. Now, the next one is a program demo video. And this is essentially a video that breaks down your entire back end of your program in terms of what that looks like in terms of the service delivery. This is also like a pre-call asset, a video you send before calls. This is basically you recording your screen and going through exactly what it looks like to work with you in your program from when someone pays up until they finish working with you, right? And, you want to also have what I like to call a FAQ section, right? And this is going to allow you to tackle more logical based questions, like we said before, the second layer questions that people have when they're interested to join, but they just aren't completely sure, on the little details. This is what you want to cover in this video, right? And like I said before, this is an unlisted video that you send before the sales goal. Now, the third one is a high-level breakdown or free course. And this is essentially like an extremely high-level breakdown, so obviously leaving room for curiosity of the exact steps that you take in your mentorship in order to get people the desired results that they want, right? And this is, a public YouTube video. It's publicly published on your page, and it's linked in your bio. But we're going to go through that more later. So, you always want to let people know exactly who this is for and who this is not for as well. So the final videos that you want is a long-form client interview. So essentially, this is going to be a video that features a successful client that you've worked with, explaining their experience working with you, including their journey before and after working with you as well. And this is obviously like a public video that you post on your YouTube channel. by the way, post as many of these as you can, right? These long form client interviews, they work really, really well for building social proof. You want to have a who am I video as well. Explain your entire backstory, the obstacles you had to overcome to get to where you are right now. And this is obviously like a public YouTube video as well that you put on your YouTube page, right? This is basically explaining your entire backstory, linking it to your ICP, again, like I said before. And yeah, so when someone has watched these videos, they pretty much have bought into the program already, right? They just haven't paid you yet, essentially. Because in order for someone to buy high ticket, there needs to be 3 yeses in their brain. Number 1, there needs to be a yes to the outcome, okay? A clear affirmation to the positive results that you promised. They also need a yes to the mechanism, right? Basically a yes to how you get them the results, right? A yes to how you get them the desired outcome that they said yes to before. And now finally, they need to say yes to you as a person. Because you, as a human being, are one of one. There's only one of you in the entire world, meaning that if you can get people to consistently say yes to you as a person, as a coach, you create your own brand, you create your own niche. You don't have competition when people consistently say yes to you, right? When you find your people. And a good way to know this, or a good way to measure this, is you need to have like people that aren't going to say yes to you. They really need to be polarized away from you, which is a good thing, because that means those people are probably not going to be the best clients anyway, right? So when it comes to these 3 yeses, I would say saying yes to you is the most important one, because people, it's quite easy to get people to say yes to an outcome or a mechanism. You just need to say something that makes them feel good, and then you also need to talk about a process that makes them feel good about feeling good, right? But it's very hard for people to say yes to an individual person. So I see it I don't see it very often where coaches actually use their personality in their sales process, in their marketing, in their branding, right? So you have a very, very big advantage if you use yourself and how you are as a person in your sales process. Right? So with these trust-based sales assets, they do exactly that, because after watching these videos, your ideal clients, they'll know exactly who you are, what your backstory is, how your method works step by step, and the results you've gone for other people. So with all of that proof and connection built, it'll be illogical for your ideal clients to think that you are not the only option that is possible to get the results that they want. Okay? So in terms of profile optimization, right, after you've done all of the market research, crafted your irresistible offer, mapped out your unique mechanism, and also prepared your trust-based sales assets, once that's all done, now we need to get into the practical side of setting everything up. So the first thing we're going to focus on is your Instagram profile, and it's the reason for that is because it's usually the initial point of contact with new traffic, right? So here's how to properly set up your Instagram profile to ensure that the first impression captivates your audience and makes you unforgettable. Okay, so the first thing that you want is a clear profile picture, right? Your profile picture should just have you, a clear headshot of you, right? An optimized bio. You want to also, have something that clearly communicates who you are, right? Who you help, and the unique value that you provide. Obviously make it concise and impactful to grab attention. And then, you want to have a strategic link in bio as well, right? Your link in bio is very, very crucial because it directs your audience to your most important resources, whether it's your website, lead magnet, or YouTube channel, with your trust-based sales assets, okay? And then you also want to have curated highlights on your Instagram. So you want to use the Instagram highlight feature to showcase key information. So testimonials, FAQs, your unique mechanism explainer videos on your YouTube, or a brief introduction into your brand, like behind the scenes stuff. So this builds trust and provides valuable context. So I might just show you my own Instagram profile to give you an idea. So this is my Instagram profile, right? This is a good example of how to properly set up your profile. Clear photo, your name here, who you help, what you help them achieve, and then also utilizing your unique mechanism name inside of there. Having your DM call to action, right? Showing, saying that you help people do exactly that. If people want to get help doing exactly this, what you offer or what you help people do, they should DM you a specific keyword. And then on the bottom line, you should link towards your high level breakdown video, essentially. Okay, so basically what I just said, right? Just down here, and in terms of traditional funnels versus YouTube, because I wanted to touch on that as well. We always funnel people to YouTube in the bio instead of like a VSL landing page or website, and this is for a lot of reasons. So with traditional funnels, the problem is that there's a lot of resistance. First of all, short form platforms like Instagram, they offer like very little pre-existing trust, right? So this leads to like really high resistance when it comes to immediately getting on a sales page, and then there's like something to sign up for. There's asking for your email or your phone number, right? So the next thing is that there's no sort of like nurturing when someone gets onto a landing page or website, right? It's like basically planting seeds without watering them, right? Basically expecting growth without any sort of proper nurturing. So if you're planting seeds as a farmer and you don't water them, you're not nurturing the plants. You're just letting them be there and die out, right? That's essentially what you're doing when you just funnel people to a website instead of your YouTube. And then don't even get me started on link trees and stand stores. They're the worst because they just present way too many options, first of all, right? And immediately reveal your pricing, right? Especially when it comes to like B2C, like the last thing that you want to do is have front-facing pricing, unless you only want to work with people that are exactly like they want to buy right now, like right now. But if you're trying to maximize how much money you make as a coach, right? you always wanna refrain from putting your prices out there, because it just like there's no sort of like trust built. There's no sort of like context around the price, right? So there's no point in showing it if you want to maximize the amount of money you want to make, right? So yeah, like Linktree stand stores are the worst, right, in my opinion. But the reason why we use YouTube instead is there's obviously no friction, right? YouTube, like, there's no opt-in forms, and people can immediately get to the free value straight away. It also builds trust, of course, right? And I always say, like, don't be afraid to share your best information, right? People obviously pay coaches for some information in some cases, but ultimately, people pay coaches not for the information, but they actually pay for the time that they save and also energy that they save by having the information implemented to their specific situation, instead of them having to go through trial and error trying to do it themselves. That's what they pay coaches for, not the exact information in most cases, right? So on top of that, above everything else, the reason why we use YouTube is because it's actually a nurturing ecosystem, right? Once someone watches 30 plus minutes of your content, YouTube's algorithm, continues to feed them your videos. You're obviously maximizing engagement over time. If they keep seeing your videos on their YouTube feed, they're going to keep watching your content, and they're going to watch more and more content of you without having to watch a bunch of different reels. And yeah, it's going to be much easier to convert them down the line. So obviously, by sending people to a platform that's designed for nurture like YouTube, you can create a seamless ecosystem that maximizes the time someone spends consuming your valuable content way before they ever have a conversation with you, right? So the final profile elements are like this. So obviously your IG story highlights, the blue tick verification as well. I really make it a non-negotiable for the people that I work with, at least, to have a blue tick. Because let me ask you, are you more likely to respond to someone that has a blue tick, or more likely to respond to someone that doesn't have a blue tick? I know that answer is obvious, right? You're more likely to respond to someone that has a blue tick already. So make sure that you have a verification. Make sure you just invest that extra $20 or whatever it is a month, right? Invest that into your business, because the ROI on it is just like, it just makes way too much sense. Okay, so now that your profile is crafted properly, let's get into content, which is one of my favorite sections. So in terms of the trust-based digital ecosystem, there are three parts to creating valuable content that converts people. So there's the top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel, right? And when you bring these parts together, they actually form what I like to call the trust-based content flywheel, right? So let's begin with top of funnel content, because obviously that's the top, right? It's going to be the first one, and it's going to make sense as we go through. Okay, so the whole point with top of funnel content is basically to create short form content, and its main purpose is to attract as many new eyes to your brand as possible. That's what short form content is for. Okay, so this content, I'll just tell you this straight up. This content is not meant to sell your coaching. You're not supposed to sell your coaching or hint to people buying your coaching programs in your short form content, right? You shouldn't try to get people to book calls. Your short form content isn't supposed to talk directly about your offer all the time, right? This is actually a very key mistake that a lot of coaches make, right? So if you're the type of coach that does that, make sure you don't, because it just turns people off, right? If they don't understand you or your mechanism or your offer, you talking about your offer and your program isn't going to do much, and especially if you're trying to just get people to book calls, right? So the whole role with top of funnel content is to start a belief cycle, right? It then guides people, the right audience, to your long form content as well, which is then the real conversion, because when people get to your YouTube, when people get to your long form content, they go from being like, okay, that's interesting, to, okay, why have I never tried this before, right? So you're not supposed to do that with your long form, your short form content, but we're going to go into how to connect everything later on. So yeah, like I said, where 99% of coaches go wrong is they just don't understand the platforms, right? First of all, right? They simply just don't understand how to use different platforms for what they're actually good for. So obviously with short form content, it's not that good at converting people, if we're being completely honest, right? But it is really good at getting your face and your message out there to as many people as possible, right? Long form power as well, right? With long form content, that is the complete opposite. Obviously, it's not as good at getting people to see your face and see your message, but it's really good at warming people up to the point of wanting to buy or work with you, right? So long gone are the days where you can just tell people to apply for your coaching in your bio and expect people to actually do it with your short form content. That's just completely gone. So in terms of the short form content strategy, if you take one thing from this section, it should be that short form content should hook people in, right? Obviously capture their attention. It needs to shift the belief and basically challenge their current thinking, their current old way of doing things, and then obviously a call to action as well. You need to end with a keyword that people need to comment at the end of the short form content video. And basically when you're hooking these people in, you're shifting their belief, and you end with a call to action, you then get them to comment a keyword that then sends them over a specific YouTube video, right, that explains the concept that you spoke about in the short form content in more detail, right? Now when someone comments on your video, it then triggers a ManyChat automation, like I said just now, and then the video is automatically sent to their inbox, so you don't have to go ahead and send it to every other person. So if someone has successfully gone through the top of funnel, they're now in the middle of funnel with the long form content and continuing the trust-based content flywheel, right? So in terms of middle of funnel, like the mistakes that typically people make is they assume that, if someone coming from short form content onto your YouTube are people that are already warm, right? And they already know you, they already trust you. That is wrong. That is completely wrong. They don't know you. You need to treat people right? Like they're still cold, okay? Because these leads, they're curious, but they're not committed to you being the person that's actually going to get them the results that they want, okay? And they're interested in what you have to say essentially, but like I said, they're not committed. So what you need to do is to basically not drop the ball like most coaches do, but you need to treat prospects that come through your YouTube videos as people that don't know who you are, don't care about what you have to say, and essentially you need to speak directly to what they want, because that's all they care about, right? So in terms of middle of funnel content strategies, right, you want to expand on the top of funnel reels, okay? Your whole idea here is to make videos that are 15 to 30 minutes long, and they need to finish the belief loop that has started in the short form content. It can be more than 30 minutes long, but this is a good range to go for. And yeah, obviously expanding the top of funnel reels, building that initial curiosity, walk through the mechanism, right? Walk through the actual structure of how the unique mechanism works step by step. You want to handle objections in your YouTube content. And then you want to enable self-decision making, right? Let people binge your content. Let people go through the rest of your videos on your YouTube channel. Because guess what? The more YouTube videos that they watch of you, the more time they spend with you, the more likely that they're actually going to buy high ticket. Okay, so in a nutshell, your YouTube video should consist of high-level breakdowns, okay? Free courses, free, mechanism breakdowns, whatever it is. Client success stories, client interviews with successful clients. Mindset content, shifting beliefs and mindsets in those videos. Personal stories about your backstory, behind-the-scenes stuff as well. In like vlog style or whatever it is, right? Just to build that human connection. And yeah. In terms of connecting the middle of funnel to the bottom of funnel, what we actually do to do this is, number one, we have a soft CTA strategy. So the first thing that we do with middle of funnel content is we get people to do a very soft call to action. As you can see, as like a common theme here, I really like soft CTAs, where there's like a lower barrier to entry. That doesn't mean the quality of the people are bad though, right? Because your messaging has to be good to filter out all the people that you don't want anyway, right? So all you're doing is just adding a lower barrier to entry for the right people, right? So if your prospects like your approach, all that stuff, you can basically say, oh yeah, if you like my approach, everything like that, you can go ahead and follow my Instagram page and DM me a certain keyword, right? And the keyword that you get into DM you is your conversion keyword. What is your conversion keyword? Well, your conversion keyword is this keyword in your bio, right? For me, that's ecosystems, but for anyone else, it can be something else, right? So, for example, with Anya, my client here, her keyword is triple M, right? Triple M, which is the initials for her flagship program, Movement Mastery Method, right? So as you can see here, DM me MMM, right? And then she links to her high-level breakdown video in the bio, right? So yeah, in terms of when they DM you the word, what you do from there is you just simply have a conversation with them, right? Have a conversation around their current situation, and then you go into booking an appointment with them. Okay, that's basically it. And yeah, in terms of the conversion mechanism that we use in the bottom of funnel, obviously not everyone is going to DM you a keyword, from your long form content. So the way that you maximize the amount of people that are coming through in the bottom of funnel and actually converting is using Instagram stories, right? Because these people, they're already warm, after watching a bunch of your YouTube content, and they might have already engaged in DMs, they might not, but the one thing is clear is that they've watched a bunch of your content already, right? So IG stories are a way for people to get a better insight into your personal life, into stuff that they might not see in your Instagram content or your YouTube, right? So you want to be sharing client wins, personal thoughts, engaging with your audience with like interactive polls, question boxes all this time. You want to make it very regular. And, I basically get my clients to post on Instagram stories every single day, right? Because it gets people to keep you top of mind, right? So when it comes to actually converting these people and getting them to actually go through a sales funnel or sales process, every single week, I get my clients to do some kind of story sequence to convert people, right? To get them in the DMs. So the actual structure for this is, number one, you hook them or hook the viewers with a problem. Okay? Speak about common problem or limiting belief that your ICP faces in that IG story. Okay? Then you want to break down the solution to that problem or how to break that limiting belief in more detail. Explain how a successful client or you were able to solve that problem in detail. Then you want to handle any last objections that people usually give when they are trying to solve this problem. And then you want to hit them with the conversion CTA. Again, the conversion CTA should be this CTA or keyword, right, that you have in your bio, right? Just like Anya has here, just like I do here, right? And then you want to get them to DM you that word at the end of that story sequence, right? So DM me the word ecosystems if you want help solving XYZ problem, right? So yeah, these people come in, they DM you the keyword, and then you can start the conversation to set them on an appointment. So the next section in the trust-based digital ecosystem is appointment setting. Now this is probably one of the most important parts of the system and one of my favorite parts, because out of all the metrics that have the highest impact on revenue and profit, appointment setting literally is at the top of that list, right? This is literally a bridge that takes people who have consumed your content into a sales process where you can actually present your high ticket service. If you're not booking appointments as an online coach, you're not going to make any money, right? So obviously mastering appointment setting is, in my opinion, the highest leverage task that any online coaching or service-based business can do, right? And it's a skill essentially that transforms content into paying viewers. So if you can master that, you're never going to run out of money ever, because you're going to continuously have people coming through that are ready to, obviously not ready, but interested in working with you anyway, right? Because they've already consumed a bunch of your content. So what I always say with the people that I speak to, right, if they're not working directly with us, I always say master appointment setting yourself, right, before hiring an appointment setter, whatever it is, because especially if you don't have a substantial audience to work with, like you haven't mastered that skill. So when you hire someone to do it for you, they're not going to be able to do it well, especially if you have a smaller audience and you're not able to compensate them that well, right? So obviously I don't know why that's there, with a proven framework and training, when people work with us, we always implement appointment setters regardless, right? Whenever we work with someone in our done for you offer, where we basically scale the whole operation for them, build out all the systems A to Z and maintain it for them, we actually implement appointment setters straight away for those done for you clients that we work with. The reason for that is because we actually have proven frameworks training, and we've even taken before complete beginners in appointment setting to people that are able to be valuable members of any sort of sales team in the future, right? So we obviously have those systems, and that's why we have that in place, but not everyone has that. So I always recommend starting out on your own. So in terms of conversations and how to book people on appointments, it's split into 3 parts, okay? So you want to start off with a conversation starter, right? So it always opens up the conversation, getting them to respond, and getting your foot in the door. Then you want to have the actual conversation as the second part, okay? And then at the third part, at the end, after you've had the conversation, you've understood their situation, you then pitch the idea of getting help. You don't pitch you don't pitch your coaching. You don't try to sell your coaching program in the DMs, right? Some people might be at that point, but you don't try and pitch a call in the DMs. You pitch the idea of getting help, right? For them to overcome the roadblocks that have stopped them from achieving their goals, right? So in terms of engagement when doing a conversation starter, a good message will be like, hey Name, so you engage with my content, are you in XYZ niche right now, or are you just enjoying my content? For example, hey John, so you engage my content, are you into real estate right now, or you just enjoy my content? That's an example there, right? In terms of another way to start a conversation is obviously setting up a ManyChat automation, right? That's another way to start a conversation, right? Because for example, when people comment a keyword to get a YouTube video, most people just send over the link, right? What we do is we send over the link and we also ask a conversation as specific to the ideal client profile that it has the ability to essentially start a conversation, right? For example, with my client Anya here, we actually have a specific question that we ask, which is, in fact, let me show you guys right now. I'll show you guys live. Okay, so I'm going through our conversation right now. I'm gonna click here to get access, and then here it is, right? So instead of just sending the YouTube video, right? Instead of just sending that YouTube video, we also sent over a question, right? Is there anything you're struggling with right now in terms of moving pain-free and stiffness-free? This opens up the conversation because people can either say, no, I'm not actually struggling with anything, or yes, I'm actually struggling with XYZ. Then we can start a conversation around that and then eventually pitch them on the idea of getting help through a call, right? So yeah, this is a really, really good example of how you can use ManyChat automations to start conversations, right? That's why I was saying before, these ManyChat comments, the people that comment on the keywords, these are basically leads, they're free leads, right? And then also, obviously, direct message keywords. When someone DMs you your conversion keyword, that is a way for you to start a conversation, right? Okay, so you've gotten someone to book an appointment, right? They booked in a call through the DMs. Now you're onto one of my favorite parts, which is sales. Now, in terms of what most people do or what most coaches get wrong, is number one, they try and force a sales call or sales close, I should say, without any sort of pre-call nurturing. They try to, number two, pitch way too early in the sales process. And number three, they try to chase leads who are never actually emotionally bought in, or they just weren't that far into the sales process or into the buying process anyway, right? So in terms of buying decisions and the actual truth behind why people buy high-ticket coaching programs, they don't say yes when they feel pressured. They actually say yes when they feel safe, certain, and seen, right? And this is what the trust-based sales assets are actually for, right? To build all that trust, build that certainty, and show people exactly what they're getting into before they even get on the call with you, right? So step one, someone obviously books in a call, right? Not going to get too much into it because obviously you understand where I'm coming from with that. Step number two, after someone books in a call, they get sent straight to a thank you page, right? I use Calendly as my appointment booking software. So yeah, when I've set it up so that when someone books in a call, they get sent straight to a thank you page for whatever client I'm working for, right? And in this thank you page, you want to have three things, right? You obviously want a video. You want a video that affirms their action, okay? Or affirms their decision. You also want a section that prepares them for the call, right? And you also want a section that explains the next steps, right? First step in those first steps is actually getting them to add the call to their calendar, go into their email and add the call to their calendar because they'll probably get a calendar confirmation inside their email to just remind them to do that. And then yeah, you also want to get them to understand what the call is going to be about, all that stuff. And then you can have an explainer video, like a 1 to 2 minute video that explains it, right? And then the next thing that you want is your pre-call priming videos, right? So most people, they don't show up to calls. People don't show up to calls when you just ask them to show up, right? There's no incentive with that. A lot of people, or most people, aren't actually as punctual or respecting of other people's time as you think, especially someone that they just met on the internet, right? So the way you earn people's attention is with long-form videos that re-engineer their beliefs and build emotional proximity. So number one, you want to use your evergreen VSL. Number two, you want to use your program demo video. You also want to use your client interviews if you have any, and you also want to send over shorter video testimonials from people that have worked with you and seen results, right? It's very important that you follow up with these people and make sure that they've actually watched the pre-call videos, because trust me, it's a lot harder to have a sales call with someone if they haven't watched these videos. So yeah, make sure you're doing your due diligence for that. And then in terms of the actual sales call and what you go through, the first part is always a logistics check, right? In the first 30 seconds that someone comes into the call, right, or even the first 10 seconds, right, you can ask, okay, can you hear me? If they have their camera off, you can say, oh, I don't think your camera's on, what's going on with that kind of thing. Obviously, don't be as blunt as I just made it, but you get what I mean, right? The next part is light rapport building. Most people, right, they just make rapport, like they think rapport building should be like 2 to 5 minutes long plus. I always keep rapport building to 1 to 2 minutes maximum. That's the absolute max. Most of the time it's just 30 seconds, asking how their day was, if you want to take it further as well. That should be the only thing. You shouldn't be talking about the weather. You shouldn't be talking about the ball game that was happening the night before. No, right? Then after you've done the rapport building, you then go into the setting the tone and doing the intro of the call. You want to explain that you understand everything that's been going on. You want to understand everything that's been going on with them and their situation, and then say that you want to determine whether you can actually help them. You don't want to come in saying, oh yeah, this is XYZ program, you're going to go into XYZ program straight away. You can have an inkling, you can have an idea of what program would work best for them. But imagine if you went to a doctor's office and they said straight away, take this medication, and you're out in 5 minutes. That would ruin your trust. You wouldn't even want to take it, right? So you always want to set the tone and get people to realize that you want to understand more about their situation. And if and only if you believe that you can help them, you'll present them a solution that might actually get them to their goal, right? Or solve their problem, right? So yeah, that's intro and tone setting, okay? So yeah, the next part is the discovery, right? The discovery part of the call. You want to identify whatever their problem is, or their issue is, or their goal, their end goal that they want to achieve. You want to identify that. Number two, you want to have a timeline assessment. How long has their issues been going on? How long have they been wanting to achieve their goal, whatever it is? In terms of goals, for example, in terms of problems as well, like how it's affecting their personal life if it's B2C, or how it's affecting their business if you're selling B2B, right? Situation summary as well. After you've understood what their problem is or their goal is, and also the timeline, you want to understand this. You want to basically summarize their situation to them. You want to say, okay, so it seems like you're dealing with XYZ. It's been XYZ amount of time, and your goal is XYZ. And when you achieve that, you'll have XYZ, reward, whatever it is, right? So obviously the discovery is really, 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 really important. So you want to take this very, very seriously, and you want to really dig deep. Ask follow-up questions as well if you need to, if the prospect isn't opening up, right? And then the next part is objection prevention. I really like objection prevention, right? The first part, you always want to understand what roadblock has stopped them from achieving their goals in the past, right? And then from there, once you understand what the roadblock was, you want to understand what they've tried before to overcome that specific roadblock, okay? And then from there, you want to basically get them to admit that if they continue doing what they're doing right now, they're not going to get the results that they want, right? So you ask them, do you believe that with what you're doing right now, you're going to get the results that you want? Then you want to ask them why they don't believe that will get them the results. If they're on the call with you, they probably don't believe that what they're doing is going to get them the results. And if they do believe that, they're on the call because for a reason, right? They're on the call because it hasn't actually gone them the results yet, right? And then solution barriers as well. You want to understand what stopped them from pursuing a solution or going forward with a solution that'll actually get them the results that they want, okay? And then from there, you want to reframe their belief around why they didn't get the help that they needed. If, for example, they have never tried any sort of coaching, whatever that is, whatever reason that they come up with for why they didn't go forward, anything like that, you want to reframe that, okay? Prevent the objection before it comes up at the end of the call. Because believe me, handling objections after you drop the price, after you do all that stuff, it's way harder. And from there, you want to help them realize that continuing the current action will only give them the same results, right? And from here, you want to ask them if they're happy with their current results. Obviously, that's an obvious answer, right? They're obviously not happy with their current results. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on the call with you. And then you want to also explore the consequences of maintaining that current result that they're getting right now, right? Get them to realize what consequences will come about if nothing changes about their situation, right? Then you want to position this call or position them in a way where they have to realize that right now is an opportunity for them to prevent them from getting the consequences of them staying the same, right? And then finally, you want to confirm that they're actually committed to going down a different path to get different results, okay? So by this end of this section, most of their limiting beliefs and objections will have been handled already, right? And then from here, you want to go ahead and pitch the program, pitch the actual mechanism once you've gotten that commitment from them that they want to go through a different path, right? So yeah, you want to go through exactly how the process works step by step. You probably understand how this all works, right? There are plenty of examples of how to do this on YouTube and stuff like that, so you should be fine. So in terms of like at the end of the pitch though, this is a very important part. You want to do some kind of temperature check. You want to check if everything that you went over on the call was actually, okay with them, right? If they actually believe that what you went through in terms of the program actually can get them results, okay? And then from there, when it comes to them actually believing whether it can get them results or not, you want to basically, like, when you ask if they believe it can get them results or not, right? Just to go back, actually, they'll either say one or two things. They'll say one of three things, actually. They'll say yes, so you can go on to the next part. They'll say no, so you stay and handle whatever objection they give, right? Or they'll say yes, but they'll be slightly hesitant. So when they say no or when they say yes and they're slightly hesitant, that's basically them saying that they're not completely certain that this can actually help them, right? So you want to ask them what's kind of behind them being uncertain about whether it'll work, and then whatever objection that they give, you handle it right there, right? Again, pre-handling objection before post their price drop, okay? Way easier to handle. So the next thing that you want to do is basically ask them for permission once you've handled or once you've confirmed that they believe that the program can actually help them. You want to ask for permission to go over what the onboarding process looks like. Then you go over what that looks like, all the onboarding forms, and you're booking the onboarding call, very simple stuff. Then the next thing that you want to do is ask if everything is clear in terms of you going through the onboarding, right? Then the next thing after that is asking for permission to go over the financial investment and what that looks like. And then from there, you want to drop the price, right? Basically. So when you drop the price, there are obviously two, obvious outcomes that will come from that. Either they will move forward straight away, right? And then you can just begin the onboarding process straight away. Or they will present an objection around, whether it's price, whether it's they want to speak to their partner, whatever it is, right? It'll be one of those two. So when someone presents an objection and they don't go forward straight away, you obviously handle the objection right there, right? You try to get them over the line, handle the objection, whatever it is, right? Usually, when it comes to objections, I've usually found that it's either logistics in terms of they don't have the full investment right now, so that's easy, you can just sort them out with a payment plan. Number two is fear around the investment. To be fair, fear and uncertainty, they can be intertwined, right? Fear and uncertainty are pretty much intertwined. They can either have a fear of the investment or uncertainty of whether it's going to work for them, right? So those are where objections usually stem from, because if they were 100% certain that it was going to work for them, they would move forward. It's as simple as that, right? So that's usually where objections come from. So in terms of actually handling objections, one person that I really, really recommend is a guy called Orlando Santucci, right? He's literally a goat, like a literal goat when it comes to sales. He is really, really good at what he does. And when it comes to objection handling specifically, his objection handling videos have actually done a lot for my own sales process within my clients' businesses. And yeah, I can't really sing his praises enough. Like, the guy is like, all I'm gonna say is go and watch his videos, you'll understand what I mean, right? So yeah. So the last part of the trust-based digital ecosystem is ads. And just to make one thing clear, ads don't fix faulty systems. They don't, fix whatever's broken, right? You can't just throw money at ads and expect stuff to work, right? All ads do is amplify what is already in your business. So if your business systems are trash and your offer isn't proven, ads will just make the whole system worse, right? So this is why coaches usually burn thousands of dollars on ads and don't see a return, because they don't have a well-oiled system that is working correctly, right? Conversely though, if you actually have a proven offer and a well-structured system that can handle ad spend and handle extra load, then strategic advertising in the way that I'm about to go through can actually accelerate your growth very, very well, and achieve very, very high return on investment. And by the way, this exact ad strategy that I'm about to go through obviously helped my client Matthew turn $700 in ad spend into $23,000 in revenue for his coaching business. So stick around for this section, it's really, really good. Okay, so step one is the cold ad mindset shift. So before you spend even $1 on ads, you need to have the right expectation, you need to have the right mindset. Right? So most coaches, they invest into ads expecting to make huge returns right away. And that's just not how you should look at ads in most cases, I should say, especially with smaller ad spends. Because number one, you need to stay emotionally neutral about performance, right? You shouldn't obsess over smaller things or specific metrics such as CPMs, click-through rates, or follower count. Okay, fair enough. If you're trying to scale past like 50 to 100K a month, sure, obsess over those things like religiously. But when you're just starting out, especially with ads, you should instead focus on, are the right type of people engaging with my ad? Are these people actually watching my content? Are my setters, or am I able to book appointments with these qualified people that are coming through my ad, right? So that's what you should be looking at qualitative data versus quantitative. When you're just starting out with ads, especially with smaller ad spends, and especially if you're making less than 50 to 100K a month, you should be looking quite literally only at the qualitative data, right? Not only, but I would say it's like an 80-20 split. I'll say, right? So in terms of financial modeling, in terms of what ad spend is good to start with, I say starting with $20 to $30 a day is very, very good. So you're spending about $600 to $1,000 a month. on ads. And usually I see, with the clients that I work with at least, a 4 to 8 or like a 4 to 10 x return on investment on their ad spend every month. In one case, I've actually had a client, my client Matthew, obviously, with $700 to $23,000. I think that's over like, I mean, that's at least a 30x return on investment, right? 30x return on investment. So, when you implement this right, it can give you a really, really good return. But I don't want you to go into ads with that mindset. I'm just saying what is actually possible with a smaller ad spend as well, if you do things right. Okay, so with this level of ad spend, you're able to kind of test multiple different creatives. You're also able to run warm retargeting, which is really, really important, and also learn about your market, learn about your ads and stuff like that, and how it's performing. Learn more about your system before you scale into ridiculous numbers of ad spend. Okay. Now, in terms of the actual 3-bucket ad strategy, you want to basically replace the current like organic strategy into the ads, right? You want to basically place that old content strategy with the top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. You want to replicate that with the ads that you're going to run, right? With the 3-bucket strategy. And, it runs the same way that trust is built, which is layered, repetitive, and self-directed. Layered because, there's multiple layers to how people trust you. There's obviously the surface layer, speaking to their surface level problems. Then you speak to their deeper level problems as well. Repetitive, they see your face over and over again. And self-directed, they need to feel like you're speaking directly to them, okay? So, bucket number 1, top of funnel. You want to be speaking mainly to like the monkey brain, surface level, outcome driven, very hooky, very catchy, very fly kind of stuff, right? The objective here with the ad campaign is an Instagram profile visit, right? You're basically starting a belief conversation. The audience that you use to target these people in the ad is a broad audience, right? You basically want to get in front of as many new eyeballs as possible, and you want to exclude your existing followers, right? Because you're going to get people to follow your page, like I said here, right? So you're starting a belief loop with an easy to consume content piece, right? It should be a very short content piece that's very easy to consume. It basically has a call to action to follow your page, right? Getting these new people, I've never seen your face before, don't know who you are, don't care about what you have to say, right? You're speaking directly to the monkey brain, right? Very surface level outcomes, surface level problems, right? And we're going to get deeper, we're going to get into more deeper stuff, right? But I'm going to explain that in bucket 2. But for right now, this needs to be really targeted to your ICP, but also not hard to consume, not too painful, not too, all that stuff at the start, right? I'm going to get into how you get into a deeper level, the frontal cortex and stuff like that. But for now, for bucket number 1, that's the whole idea, right? And the reason why we speak directly to the ICP, we use the exact words that they'll use, how they want to be spoken to, because when people come and follow the page, they're basically classed as leads, right? They're classed as people that we can reach out to, or the appointments that I can reach out to book on appointments, right? So we only want qualified people to come to the page, essentially, right? So in terms of budget allocation for this top of funnel ad, it is 65 to 70% of the total ad budget is usually allocated to bucket number 1, because with that level of ad budget, or that level of ad budget like ratio compared to the other buckets, the whole, like, it fits the objective, because the whole objective is to get in front of as many eyeballs as possible, right? So in terms of the budget allocation, we're obviously going to put the most amount of budget towards bucket number 1. And in terms of which buckets we scale, right, it's always going to be bucket number 1 first, and then we go into the other buckets. So bucket number 2 is speaking to the frontal cortex, deeper level pain, outcome driven messaging, right? So the objective is still an Instagram profile visit campaign, right? And the audience that we put inside of this campaign are people that have visited your profile but haven't actually followed your page yet, right? People who haven't yet become leads, because people, they'll come through to your page, right? There'll be people that follow, people that won't follow. But from the top of funnel ad, these are going to be people that visited your profile, done whatever, maybe watched some of your content, whatever it is, but for some reason they haven't followed your page, right? So this is what the bucket 2 content piece, or the bucket 2 ad, is for, right? And in terms of the content piece, speaking to deeper levels of pain, deeper outcomes, right, and what it can do for them, we want to speak more deeply to the ICP, right? Sharing a part of your own story, some case studies, and also a call to action to follow your page, right? So the goal with this is to capture people, like I said, who have visited your page, but for some reason haven't actually followed your page, right? And this ad, it basically gets shown to them repeatedly over and over again until they follow you, right? And then the budget allocation for this ad is 20 to 25%, just to make sure that you don't like tire out the narrow audience, because obviously people that have visited your page but haven't followed, that's a much narrower audience than just completely broad targeting, right? Again, we're excluding the follower list on this custom audience, right? Then bucket number 3 is the objection handling and second layer questions layer, right? The objective with this ad layer, or this bucket in the ad strategy, is to basically use your organic content pieces that are able to build deeper trust and reinforce your authority without repeating your initial pitch, right? You're not getting people to follow your page, not doing any of that, right? You're basically targeting people who already follow you, already engage with you, right? People who have visited your profile, people who've watched your videos before, people who have been in your DMs, people who already follow you. You're targeting them with these videos, right? And this layer of your 3-bucket ad strategy, right? So you're basically using content that you've already posted on your Instagram that handles all these objections, these second layer questions, shares social proof, client success, personal stories, all that stuff, right? And all these videos, they have a call to action at the end to comment a keyword to get a YouTube video, right? And we're basically replicating the organic process. We're replicating the organic cycle with the top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel with ads artificially, which is really, really good, right? And we only have like a 5 to 10% budget allocation to this layer because while it is a very important layer, right? Because the way we set it up is people continuously watch that video over and over again. They get shown you, like they basically see your face over and over again over a certain period of time, right? But the reason why we don't put a lot of ad spend towards it is because it's not directly connected to conversions, essentially, right? It's not connected to getting more people to come to the page. It's not directly connected to getting more sales over the line. However, it does make it very, very much easier to actually get sales over the line because they're seeing your face over and over again, and their objections are getting handled. They're seeing success, case studies, all that stuff. Personal stories. They're building that connection, right? Basically replicating the organic process artificially. So, basically at the end of this video, but if what you've heard resonates with with you so far, this is what we have to do next, right? So you're at the end of the video, you've consumed all this content, you've understood my whole kind of mechanism around helping coaches scale. So the next step from here is obviously you've booked a call with me to get like a deeper dive in your business right now. But to be clear, like this is just a call. It's not like a pitch fest. I'm not kind of doing like a bait and switch strategy session. This is not what it is. It's simply just a space for you to talk about where you're stuck right now, what you've tried, and whether this ecosystem thing can actually help you, right? Because I only want to implement this if this can actually help you, right? So with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'm looking forward to having that call with you.